What's up, guys? Today I am back with a new series, and this series I am going to be calling Business 101. The series is going to incorporate a lot of questions that I've received on one of my first videos that I ever created, which was starting an LLC through Legalzoom. And basically this video did a lot better than I thought it would. I didn't realize so many people were looking for guidance on this topic. So I wanted to create a series that basically takes those comments and questions that you all had and create separate videos on each one of those, because I realized that there is such a need for so many of these questions to be answered. So I want to be able to provide that to you all. And I'm hoping that as more and more questions come in, I'll be able to essentially create like a library of answers for you all, so that when you're starting your business, you feel as comfortable as possible. Now, I can't possibly answer all of these questions, so what I'll do is for this video, this will be my introductory video to this series. I will go ahead and start with a light Q&A. Comments that I wasn't able to respond to, and if you guys know, I like to try to respond to every single comment that comes through, but it's kind of impossible when there are so many. So I'll take some of the ones that I didn't get to answer online, and I'll go ahead and include them in this video, and hopefully you guys will get some of the answers that you're looking for while you're starting your business. So I have your comments here on my phone. I'm just gonna be reading some of them out, and I'll place them here so that you guys can follow along with me. But one of the first questions is that I get all the time. And this is specifically pertaining to one of the first videos that I created, as I mentioned before. I didn't realize that video was going to do so well, and I didn't even know that there was such a need for something like this. So I'm really happy that I was able to help so many people. But I'm going to take this question specifically. It says, what is the benefit of filing with Legalzoom? Why not just go to the state secretary's? Why not just go to your state's Secretary of State website and do it yourself? I've heard that Legalzoom is actually not needed, but am I wrong? Is there a benefit that I'm not seeing? Thank you. I get these questions all the time, and you're right. There are ways that you can do it without Legalzoom, and there are ways that you can do it with Legalzoom. And the answer that I always like to give is, do you file your own taxes? And if the answer is yes, do you use a service such as TurboTax or whatever else is out there, or do you go to someone and file your taxes through them? And if the answer is yes, then Legalzoom is doing a similar service. It's yes, you can go straight to the Secretary of State wherever you're located and file for an LLC, but it's a very manual process, and you do have to know what you're doing. Whereas Legalzoom allows you to kind of input your information, and sometimes they offer, a guarantee so that you can pay a little bit extra for, just to make sure that everything is done correctly. And if not, then the liability will fall back on them. The ease of entry with Legalzoom is there, and you kind of can just set it and forget it and know that Legalzoom is in the background doing all the necessary things that need to get done. Now, I am in the state of Georgia currently, and so I did create a video on how to do this in the state of Georgia. If you follow through that video, it should be very similar for your specific state. So if you are looking for, to be more hands-on with this process of creating your LLC, then I would go directly to your state. But if you kind of just want to input all your information and know that someone else in the background is going to get all the necessary documents for you created, and make sure that everything you need in order to operate your business successfully has been achieved, then paying that little extra service fee to Legalzoom sometimes can give you that peace of mind that you're looking for. Short answer is yes, you can file through your state. It all depends on how much you're willing to put into this part of creating your business. The next two questions I get all the time, and I will definitely be creating an individual video on this. And these questions are both pertaining to business addresses. And so the first one says, quick question, is the address part in the checkout just for shipping, or will this address be officially on record for the world to see? Should people use an official address for that part? So when it comes to Legalzoom and you're checking out and you're shipping, they want to know where to ship your documents to. That address is private from as far as I understand it to be. But in the past, I've used the same business address and the shipping address. So that'd be something that I would definitely reach out to Legalzoom about to make sure and confirm if you're really concerned about your address being public. Other than that, all of the other addresses that you input for your business will become public information, because Other businesses and the state should be able to look up your business and see where you are legally located. This is all public information. So before I get into the solution to this, let me read the second question. The second question says, am I able to use a PO box as my business address? And it's a yes and a no answer. So the solution to both of those questions would be to look up a virtual address. If you feel uncomfortable using your home address, which a lot of people do use because they don't actually have a physical office space or they don't have a physical business space, a lot of the time you can create a virtual address. You can do this by going online, typing in virtual address in your city, type virtual address your city, and look at all the options that you have. So there's a few types of virtual addresses, but the ones that I'm most familiar with are the ones where you literally can join a workspace and just pay for their virtual office benefits, which will basically give you an address. All of your mail will be forwarded to them. If you need your business address to open a bank account, then this address will be beneficial for you to use because it's a legitimate address that you are paying for example, like a monthly subscription, and you're able to use them as your place of business. Another option would be to get a co-working space. And again, this works by typing co-working space in your city and then finding out what makes the most sense for your business. That way you can use their office space if needed whenever you have meetings, or you can use their address and they will receive all of your mail. This is such a very large topic that I'm going to create a separate video on exactly how to create a virtual address. I've used both methods where I've only ever had the virtual address service, but I've also had a co-working space where I was able to receive all my mail and actually go into the office and work out of my office for the day or whatever the case is. So that's virtual addresses. A lot of the times they will not accept PO boxes unless it is a physical address. So for example, there are PO boxes that offer you a physical address feature, and you see this a lot of times with overseas businesses who need an address in the United States in order to operate. And it's so complex, so again, like I said, another video will be created just for that topic alone. Next question, and this has a lot to do with processes, which I'm really big on. I love to build out processes, and I've learned this over time, and it's helped me grow in business a lot. But I've realized that once you figure out what works for you, build a process around it and then automate it. So that's a little too far out there for this question, but the question is, so I registered my business, but I don't remember getting an EIN number. So should I file for the number first and then set up my LLC? So this goes as a part of the process thing. So basically, I have a set process whenever I'm consulting or whenever I'm talking to someone about, starting a business. I ask them, okay, well, do you have your idea? And, they're like, yeah, this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. All right. And, and the next thing could be such as, okay, have you, looked up all your domains and all those sort of things, but that's a little more granular. If we go a little more high level, it'll be, okay, do you have your idea? Yes. All right. Do you have your business? And in that piece of the process, the first thing you would do, I would say, is first to establish a business address. So that way, when you go to file your LLC, that address that you've established will be what you can use across the board. So that when public information is published, your business is associated with the virtual address and not your home address, for example. So you want to get all that established first. You also want to make sure that you know who's going to be in the business, because it is a lot to change that on the back end. So you want to make sure you establish that up front. And again, I'll get into that concept a little bit later. But essentially, you have your idea, you have starting your business. Within starting your business, you have the business address, and then you would file for your LLC, whether you use Legalzoom or whether you use the Secretary of State, however you decide to do that. And there's so many other companies out there that are like Legalzoom as well. So I'm not saying they're not sponsoring this or anything like that. I'm just saying anything similar to that. File your LLC. And after you've received your document number, which is a part of the documents that you'll receive once your LLC has been filed for with the state, whether you do it through yourself or whether you do it through Legalzoom, you're still going to get that document number. you need that document number in order to get your EIN. So you cannot get your EIN number before you get that LLC created. And again, this is only if you are filing for an LLC. If you're filing for a sole proprietorship, you can literally go on irs.gov and just file for an EIN number, but it's going to be attached to you personally, which doesn't, you have all liability, so that wouldn't really benefit you in the long run. You want something where it's under your business and not your personal name. And I've also created a video on exactly how to do this part of the process of getting your EIN number, and I kind of walk through step by step of how you'll do this through irs.gov, completely free. You should not have to pay for your EIN number. I do know that services like Legalzoom do offer it, but if you saw my LLC video, then you'll know that you can opt out of that and do it yourself. And so I've provided steps on how to do both. Next question. What about if I want to switch from a sole proprietorship to an LLC? Now, this is actually one of the easier switches to do because a sole proprietorship, you don't actually file much with the state. It's just, like, it allows you to get an EIN number, but you assume all liability. So if you want to go from a sole proprietorship to an LLC, then it would just be you filing for that LLC and acknowledging that you are no longer operating the business as a sole individual, you're operating it as an entity. Next question is, should I have a business phone number and email prior to creating LLC for marketing reasons? This is a huge question because a lot of people get caught up on this piece alone that they forget to even start their business. Depending on what type of industry you are in, I will say everyone should do their research. And yes, this is a disclaimer. I think everyone, regardless of watching this video or not, you should still do your own research into your industry that you're going into, because there are so many rules and regulations and licenses and those sort of things that are specific to each industry. What I'm speaking of is all generalized, so I want you to also do your own research. But going back to this, a lot of people get caught up because they'll spend so much time of, I need to find a name, I need to find a logo. And yes, those things are important, but a lot of the times you can just get started without it. You can find creative ways to basically make sure that your business model works. You can operate with very minimal marketing, I guess you can say, in the beginning. And as you learn and grow within your business, you'll be able to realize what makes sense for you. I've had situations where I was consulting in the past, and I've had a client who spent 6 months trying to figure out the logo design for their business, where they could have been finding suppliers and they could have been sourcing products and they could have been, creating the business side of things without that logo. Like, yes, the logo is important for the final product, but once we finally found the logo design that they were happy with, we then began the process of finding suppliers, which in itself could take a really long time. So I say this to say, don't get caught up on that. Set it up, yes, but it could be as simple as mybusiness@gmail.com for an example. And then if you later on want to switch it to a domain provider where you can have support at mybusiness.com, where you've purchased your domain from GoDaddy and it's no longer a Gmail email, you can do that later on. You can get a Google Voice phone number to set up your business and be okay with that. So don't get caught up on those sort of things, such as your logo design. It can change. I would say the only time you should really be concerned with that is if you're trying to file for a trademark, which can take up to a year. And so you want to make sure that you're settled on a logo design. But prior to that, a lot of people are still in the phases of where they haven't even sourced their products yet for a sample, and so you don't want to get caught up on those sort of things in the very beginning, because in the grand scheme of things, those things should take you about 30 seconds to set up, whereas other things will take a lot longer. But what I've seen in the past is vice versa. I've seen people make some of the largest decisions in 30 seconds and the smaller ones in over 6 months, like I mentioned. Those were certainly not all the questions that I've been asked in the past couple of months since I've posted that video, but I do want to start off with that. And like I mentioned, I will be creating longer videos dedicated to one single topic in this space, because I know how beneficial it could be to a lot of people out there. I'm still figuring a lot of this stuff out, but I will say that a lot of this is from experience, you know, from growth, failure, all that good stuff. So I want to share those stories with you all to make sure that you guys know that this isn't an easy process, and it's, you know, if it was, then everyone would be doing it, but at least you know you have the tools necessary to succeed in the future. So thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned and subscribe.